Do you love old cars and trucks? Join us on Bring 'em Back to Life, where we search the salvage yards and backyards of America to find that gold mine of a parts car or that restorable gem in the rough. Come with us down memory lane as we elevate the status of our salvage yards to outdoor museums of automotive history.
Come on in for a walkabout down memory lane, courtesy of second and third generation Kleemann family. What we've got here is a beautiful southern New England late fall day, and we had a snowstorm move in yesterday. Came in fast and hard, dumped about 6 or 7 inches of snow on our classics here, and that storm is referred to by the weathermen as a clipper. Well, here we are at Kleemann's Auto Parts, standing right by a clipper. It appears to be rather complete. Most of the stainless intact. It's a 2-door coupe. The trunk is a little bit ajar, but you can see the emblem right there, the ship's wheel, and underneath it says clipper. Let's take a closer look and see what's left on this old beauty. Well, in an effort to see this nice dash in here that says Clipper Super right over there, and the whole steering wheel, let's see if this thing works. Hey, how about this? Got a little trouble here with the rain gutter, but it's intact and probably could be rebuilt with 3 new springs. And there we are, look at that. Well, as you can see, the dash is pretty much intact. The radio is still there. There's another little emblem over on the right side by the passenger's compartment with the ship's wheel, and it says Clipper Super. And, you know, for an old geezer that's been sitting here for quite a while, that's in remarkably good condition. There's a lot of good stuff in this dash. You'll notice the trim line from the roof on the glass, around the window. The glass isn't broken. This is a beautiful piece. Let's see if it works. There's a window knob in there. It wants to work. Just a little tight. I bet you with a little oil in there, this window would work just fine. Let's try the door. That's a nice shape too on the trim. That window trim is also beautiful. You know, this car just needs a little oil and should be fine. Just look at this. A complete V8 engine with the air cleaner. Has a added on oil filter container to make sure the engine stayed clean. The windshield wiper motor is still here. The heater is still here. The hinges worked beautifully even with snow on the hood, which added a few pounds. And look at this, an early windshield washer system complete, along with a beautiful mouse nest. Boy, they've been having a nice time under here. For those of you who can't tell, it says Clipper on the hood, and each fender only has 1 headlight. That's a big clue for maybe it's a 57. Anyway, this hood is really nice. Listen to this. Here's a nice prospect for an interview. Here's a nice DeSoto, a coupe, 2-door hardtop, just sitting here begging to go home. I open the door latch, it's free. Like the last car, needs a little oil, but it works fine. The door panel is all intact. The window stainless is in really nice shape. The original seat is here, and it's not even ripped. This thing is nice. Most of the dash is here. The steering wheel is still there. I hope Bobby doesn't mind, but I have to do a little body work on the fender so I can open the door. I'll be right back. And just like a Mission Impossible, I'm inside. Let's see what we've got here. A VIN tag. And it's even got keys on the dash with a tag. 1955 DeSoto. You know, there's a little bit more information in here from this side. You've got the radiator shield, which is in 2 pieces and has been unbolted and nicely set in there. And there's a piece of stainless sitting on the floor that would identify this model as, I don't know, Freedom? Let's take a closer look. This is a Fire Dome. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Fire Dome model was a V8 Hemi. Someone has removed a portion of the dash, which probably had a speaker or something behind it, or the glove box, and it says Fire Dome just to the right of that, but up inside that dash compartment is an electric wiper motor. Just waiting to find a new home in a 55 DeSoto that somebody's enjoying for cruises. This hood doesn't work quite as good because the engine and transmission have been removed, but the hood hinges are in place, the heater is there, the radiator support is in nice shape, and the horns are here, the radiator's on the front seat. So there's plenty left of this old beauty. That's a nice front bumper too. Well, we're here in Preston, Connecticut at Kleemann's Auto Parts, walking down memory lane, looking at mostly American-made vintage cars. Many which have beautiful parts still on them, but because of the weather here in New England, just not going to make it for a restoration project. But with me here now is Bobby Kleemann. I've known Bob a number of years. Welcome to this segment of the show, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like you to explain a little bit about how this started. I know your dad started it before you were born,
Right.
but tell us a little bit about what you remember and the dates and how we wound up with a highway separating us here.
The business was started by my father in 1947, and this road out here, Route 165, went right through the middle of our junkyard in 1955. The original road was on the front of our junkyard, and when they redid it, they went right through the middle of our junkyard. And all these old, real old cars were here before the road was put through. So a lot of these cars have been here for many, many years.
So you're actually the second generation to be operating this yard with your brother, and
Right.
you also have a son. Who else is working here with you?
Yes, my son works for us, and we have 2 other workers besides my brother also works here with us.
Now, we've been looking at some coupes, actually, 2-door hardtops, Mercury, a DeSoto, and there's plenty of more stuff we're going to be looking at that is considered classic or antique vintage eras. Are these cars for sale?
Sure. Yeah, any car or any part is for sale.
Well, we'll be providing information to those of you watching that you can contact Bobby Kleemann here and tell him which car you saw on the show and ask him about it, ask him the price, what he wants for a part, or he will sell the entire car. But because they're quite rusted out here in Connecticut, he can't give you a legal bill of sale for a vehicle to be registered. He can give you a legal bill of sale for the car to be sold as is. Thank you very much, Bob.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Since we've put the body parts here on the 57 Chevy, we pushed it outside, got the pressure washer out and cleaned up that mess that we had for an engine compartment. And between fighting the snow and the ice and the rain, this project's going to continue. We're going to push this baby back in the garage. We're going to do a tune-up, change the oil, and see if it runs. We got extra help, so we'll be back in a few minutes inside. Well, if you remember, it was kind of a mess under this hood, because this 57 Chevy had been sitting around for quite a while. But I discovered that it does turn over. And if it turns over, it'll run. And it's only got 70,000 miles on the odometer. So I picked up a few goodies here, and Ryan's coming back on the scene. So we're going to put some of these goodies in here and see what we've got. First thing's 57 with a 283. Only needs one fan belt because this one doesn't have air conditioning. So there's that. We got some little cleanup tools here because we got to do some work on the carburetor. We also got a nice set of 4 and 4, 8 spark plugs for our 283. There you go. Got a nice new rotor for the distributor. And let's see, what would be in here?
Points and condenser.
Points and a condenser.
Definitely need those.
We also got some new spark plug wires and a cap. So we're going to spend a few minutes under here doing some changes, but that carburetor looks pretty sick too. That thing hasn't had any fuel in it for quite a while, so
Let's unhook it, huh?
let's unhook it
Oh,
and use this carburetor jiffy kit here and put the essential things in the carburetor, and so we know it'll work properly when we do get fuel to it. As it does have a nice pretty orange paint job under all that grease and dirt. That's a good sign. Okay, we'll be out of here with this carburetor in no time. Why don't you take this thing out of here and do some magic to it?
Oh yeah, she needs some help.
Now, while Ryan is doing his magic on that dirty old carburetor, I'm going to go ahead and do the spark plugs, and I might even have a new helper in here do some of the wires, but I got to teach him where to go. It's time for a nice fresh set of plugs.
So when we pull out the plugs, Dennis, what are one of the things we're going to be looking at to make sure that the rest of the engine is still good?
Well, if there was water in the cylinder, we'd see a lot of rust around where the electrode is, or if there was anything broken in the cylinder, we might see this electrode knocked right into the center of the plug. Or if it's just been in there for a long time, it would have this corrosion built up. These plugs actually haven't been used that long, and at least in cylinder number 2, looks nice and clean, so we're in pretty good shape here. Now over there under the generator is serial number, or cylinder number 1. On a 283, the driver's side is 1, 3, 5, and 7.
Okay.
So you reach under there and find the end of that spark plug and wrench it out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Boy,
well,
this thing is... Do we have to have a breaker bar on this?
I hope not.
I hope so too. Alright. There it goes. Alright, it's coming out.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, what does that one look like over there?
Well, same as yours, pretty much.
Well, that's a good sign. Just a slight wear. You know, this car was probably taken care of very well, and when it was left sitting and the vandals got a hold of it, they just destroyed it on the outside, but we're looking pretty good in here. This is a good sign. Here's a new one for you to put in 1, and I'll put in 2, and we'll work our way down.
Okay.
So far, so good. Well, looks like I've got the same story over here. I think we're in good shape with this 283. I can't wait to see what Ryan does with that carburetor so we can hear this thing. I'm excited. I like finding things in the salvage yard that's still good. Let's go see how Ryan's doing on that carburetor. I have this rebuild kit right here for a Rochester 2-barrel, somewhere around a vintage 1957. I'm going to give him the kit and hand him some Amsoil heavy-duty metal protector to start taking some pieces off it. Here's Ryan.
Thank you.
See it or not? Inside of that. It's got a little corrosion in here. Probably have to pull these jets out, clean it out a little bit. Doesn't look too bad though. See if we can. There we go. Yeah, it's a little corroded, but all the holes and the ports look open. Well, a little corrosion in this one here. We'll have to stick a wire in there and clean that out with the air. Doesn't look too bad though. I think we're going to be able to get it going. It's a little seized up. The throttle plate's got a little rust on them, but we're going to put some of this metal protector in here. Some great stuff. It's going to eat away at it and help dissolve anything that's keeping it from moving. Let that sit a little bit while we clean the rest of these parts. And I think she's going to be in good shape. Needle and seat look real nice too. The float looks like it's in good shape. Even the accelerator pump doesn't look bad, but we're going to replace that with the gaskets and everything. I think we're in good shape.
Well, we've just gotten some good news from Ryan that it looks like the carburetor has a lot of hope. So that means John and I got to hustle up with the spark plugs and the wires under here and the stuff that goes on the distributor. Now, it looks like just a little bit of rust on the threads, probably from sitting around for a few years and not being run. That's in good shape. Okay, you can put the new one in number 7. I'll get number 8 out of here and we'll do what comes next. Spark plug wires. No, this thing is so original that it's even got the little banana shields still on the side of the engine that protect the wires. That's kind of rare to find on a 57 Chevrolet today unless they've been replaced. And once again, we've got a pretty good looking spark plug here. That's encouraging. All right, here you go, John. You can put the last one in, and we'll move on.
Now, how tight are we supposed to be putting these things?
Well, you bring them up until they seat, and then just give it a little bit of a nudge. It's not very much torque.
Like that, then?
That's fine. That's plenty.
Okay.
Just enough so that it seats that little ring at the end, and that's enough. Okay, you got 4 spark plugs in over there.
Yeah.
All right, give me the wrench back. I'll throw it in the last one over here, which is number 8. Number 8 out of 8. We're ready to go. Well, while I'm doing that, you can loosen up the bolt on the generator. We got to move the generator forward about 3 inches on that little bar right there. We're going to have to slip this new generator belt on, so when we do start her up, we don't snap that old one. That's been sitting around as long as these spark plugs.
Okay.
Now, I've been driving 57 Chevrolets, for probably 35 years, maybe even longer. And one of the things I learned when I was young was that you can't trust everything you read. Now, if you happen to want to buy a 57 Chevy and you bid on this beauty to restore it, the first thing you're going to want to do is go out and buy the manual. The shop owner's manual for 57 Chevrolet that was printed by General Motors. Everything you want to know in there, but there's a problem. When you go to the page that shows you the distributor, it's going to show you a nice photograph with all the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the 9th one is the one in the center for the coil. But they developed the negative backwards. So if you look at the manual and you put the wires in the way they tell you to, this engine will never run. So keep that in mind. It's developed backwards. And it goes clockwise. 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. It says it right on the intake manifold, so you don't get confused. But the manual says they go counterclockwise. That's because the negative was developed backwards. So, John, you've got 1, 3, 5, 7, and number 1 happens to be the one that's really close to this little door in the cap. So if you open the door in the cap and you put number 1 in that hole, and then you go clockwise to number 8 over here, they'll be in the right order. Right around, right like what's on the intake manifold, and the last one from the coil right in the middle. Now we got some work to do.
Yeah.
Let's check on the carburetor.
Here we are with this Rochester, putting her back together. We didn't do a complete overhaul, like we didn't tank it, to make the outside look real pretty. But we ran this metal protector and air through all the passages inside of the carburetor, and everything's clean and free. She should be a runner. She looks pretty good. Just finished getting her back together here. Might have missed a piece of the linkage. You might have to pop this top back off. Yes or no? Yeah, I think we're gonna have to pop it open just a little bit and get that linkage on there. And we should be good to go. There we go. This looks pretty good. Stick that on there and try it out.
Alrighty. You take your side, I'll take mine. We'll slap this baby back on there.
Good.
Well, would the cameraman like to get a close-up of this engine compartment now? Looks like a 57 Chevy 283 in there, with a few new parts and a quick tune-up. Just like that. That's all original.
You were shooting a whole.
Well, since we're inside the garage and we want to be real safe about this, we're just going to give the carburetor a little shot of carburetor cleaner instead of pouring some gasoline in it, and we're going to see what it does. The key is on. Are we ready? Well,
Probably got to give it another shot and get that gas up into the...
okay, we'll give it another little shot. Let the fuel pump get working.
Now, sometimes it takes a little bit to get the fuel up there.
Well, we'll pump the throttle a couple times. Okay, I think we're ready to go. We may have to put that air cleaner on.
You might have some old gas in there too, Dad.
Huh. Yeah, old gas. Not a bad running 283 for sitting around a few years though, huh?
Yeah.
You say you like old cars, you say you like old trucks. If you've been looking for one and you've had no luck, well, come along with us, a trip down memory lane, on a walkabout. You'll be glad that you came.